body, in mind, and in spirit for our service this morning. When you decide to make a change in your life, you're inviting yourself to step out of your comfort zone. By definition, being out of your comfort zone means you're uncomfortable. The discomfort usually takes the form of resistance, excuses, or denial. We resist what is needed to bring about the change. We make excuses for not doing it, or following through on what we need to do, or stop doing. Sometimes we simply outright deny the need for a change because it makes us so uncomfortable. Resistance, excuses, or denial are important signposts that you are close to something very important in your life, something that has been keeping you stuck in the rut of your comfort zone. Let's take those words into our minds and hearts and contemplate them for a moment. As we come together this morning, we all recognize those areas within ourselves where we're still a little fearful. We're still denying or we're still avoiding. And we recognize that as we come together, we are empowered. That together we are more. We are braver and stronger and more enlightened, more aware. And we come with that willingness, that openness to possibility, to the revelation of that highest and best within each of us that is God expressing there. And as a community, the highest and best that we are together is that expression of God right here, right now. It is the one life that unites us and joins us and calls us together. And it is very real. And it is very powerful. And it is ours. And so we accept it and allow it to be all that it is in each of our lives. And how blessed we are. And so it is.
Yeah, so.
Amen.
Good morning. As Michael said, Reverend Cece emailed all of us yesterday in the afternoon saying, I am not feeling good. And I applaud her. She did a lot of work last weekend during that retreat, and it is expressing itself out of her body now. And so she is taking good care of herself. And I think we need to, at some point, we will together send her that loving energy. But before we do, I want us to just pause and take a minute, because I don't know about you, but the service is flowing very smoothly. People have stepped up, our core council members, our practitioners, the Sunday service team members have come up, still creating a very loving and welcoming space. And that's because of what we have come to do. But it also speaks very much to the consciousness of our spiritual community leader. Because without that consciousness, there wouldn't have been the freedom to do what we feel called to do, to step in the way that matters to us, each of us in our own way. And if you look at that, you can recognize it just by the things that happen on a weekly basis here at our center. There's so many different things that are going on, so many different ways. Opening up, recognizing that that which is life itself is expressing through each of us, uniquely and dynamically. And it touches the hearts of all kinds of people that walk through these doors. And it begins there. It begins with her. And then us, right? Our practitioner core. We support her. We support this community in prayer. And all those who are practitioners who are not licensed, who haven't gone through the process, but who practice these principles. And they do their prayer work. That helps to create this community. And because of that, we have this here. And I don't know about you, but it feels good to me. How about you? Yeah, yeah. So why don't we take a moment and just send Reverend Cece some love, some healing energy, and then a big yay for her for taking care of herself. Not that she probably had more opportunity, but yay. So let's just pause a moment and send that love and that healing energy to her. And what did we say? And so it is.
And yay!
And yay! Yay! Everybody, 1, 2, 3. Yay! So what an interesting topic. I love it when she called and she said, uh-oh. And I'm like, well, okay. I talked with Mike and said, I'll step in. This is a perfect talk for me called Stepping Out of Your Comfort Zone. I sat and I listened to my Mozart, last night, trying to meditate and get connected and everything. And so I started writing the talk out and everything, and woke up this morning and said, boy, this doesn't feel right. It's still up here in case I get freaked out. But stepping out of that comfort zone, for me, wondering if I can let go of the ego aspect of my being, which I value because it serves a valuable purpose, but can I let go of it enough to let that spiritual aspect of my being to do its thing as well? Because that's what we all are, right? We really all, that's all we are. And I said, well, okay, so I've gotten lots of prayers. I believe in prayer support, and here we are. So when I thought about talking about how do we step outside of our comfort zone, I had a conversation with somebody this weekend about moving through fear. And that was a big one, moving through fear. I don't know about you, but when I have fearful thoughts, there are times that I can handle them. How about the rest of you? I can just kind of say, oh, all right, I'll put my focus on something else. I can handle it. Then there are times that if I'm really stepping outside of my comfort zone, really stepping out, that fearful thought, as much as I think I try to deal with it, starts to ruminate. And it starts to do a cycle, and a cycle, and a cycle, and a cycle. And the next thing I know, my heart's going 90 miles an hour, I am thinking thoughts that are really thoughts I don't want to be thinking, and my husband said, "You okay?" No, but that's okay. And I have to pause, and there are times that I'll do one of two things. I will slap on a set of headphones, and I will start listening to things that help me to remember who I am. Because I've just gotten caught. It's a record. It's click, click, click. I can turn it off and try another record. So I do. I put my headphones on, and I'll listen to Wayne Dyer. I'll listen to Mary Morrissey. I'll listen to other spiritual speakers. I'll get online. I'll pick up a book. I'll read it. And then there are times that, as well as that is, it still doesn't click for me. So I'll call a friend. Usually it's a practitioner. Because I'm caught. I'm caught in the cycle of my own fear. And so I will. Asking one of them, I've called them. This is bigger, this feels bigger than me. It's not the truth, but it's the belief that I bought into. And I'm grateful because they have known that for me. I have called friends who aren't practitioners, but who do this work, and who I know that when they say they know for me, I know they know for me. Because I have to rely on them at times when I'm overwhelmed and I'm frightened. So I'm grateful. And that's the service that we offer each other in this community, to be present. We don't have to have special training. It helps to be taught in these principles, because these principles are really about knowing the power of our ability to change our mind, change our thinking, and change our life experiences. They're principles that say that we are one with all that is, and therefore have within us the ability to pray, to know in that prayer the truth that is someone, regardless of their circumstances. And I give thanks for that. Because with that, through that, because of that, I have been able to make strides. I have been able to take steps. I have been able to take action to pursue the things that matter to me. Whether it is my own personal growth and just trying to understand a concept, or really whether it's starting to take action and step out in the world in a different way. I started this journey many years ago, as we all did. We start our journeys. But I had a lot of resistance. I was 26. And I came from a home that was a very loving home. It was also a home that was impacted by alcoholism. And as a result of that, there were coping mechanisms that, although they served the family, didn't necessarily serve the individual members of the family. And so we grew up with those, and eventually, what worked when I was smaller didn't work for me as I got older. At about 26, I had a crash. I got to a point that I watched myself driving 50 miles an hour down a 25-mile-an-hour zone saying, "All right, you MFers, step out in front of me and I'll run you over." I mean, that's really where I was at. I mean, really. And all of a sudden, when I started, I just started crying, and I'm like, "Oh my God, are you in trouble?" And I thought, if I don't do something, I'll either hurt myself or I'll hurt someone else. And I don't want to end up in jail. I mean, I like sunshine. I like getting out in it. So I made this walk. I called the employee's assistance counselor, made a walk, one of the longest walks I think I've ever walked, because I was frightened, because I thought if I go to see this person, they're going to tell me, and they're going to agree with the fact that I'm nuts. I am the one in the family who, yes, Becky, let's put you away for a while and everything will be fine. And so I really thought as soon as I went to her office, I was going to make a phone call and say, "I'll see you in 30 days. But no. She paused and then she started talking to me about this thing called alcoholism. And I'm like, well, my dad really didn't manifest that too terrifically. And that's when she talked about coping mechanisms. And it was really incredible because it was an answer to a prayer. And it was an answer to a prayer that I had resisted over and over and over again. I had prayed for guidance. I had prayed for help. I had prayed for release of the pain. And these things would come to me that would make me feel good. And I'd say, well, that can't possibly be it. That's not what this is all about. I could not accept that. So I refused it. And then it came around again. And again, but at this point I didn't recognize it as an answer to my prayer. I just recognized it as a thought that felt good but really didn't serve a purpose. And it wasn't until I got to that point, they talk about, you can either be light as a feather or slapped with a 2x4. Well, it kind of felt like a 2x4. But at the same point, all of a sudden, when this woman gave me this information, it was as if, it was like a veil, it was like a heavy cloak. And I'm like, wow, there is something more that I'm not aware of that's affecting who I am and how I see life and how I believe. And so I began this journey. Many, many years in this journey. Met with many, many wonderful people. Learned techniques and tools that really helped to see myself differently. And I began to take a notion of learning how to love and honor myself. And that was new. Because loving and honor myself was really based upon how well I did, how successful I was, how much weight I'd lost, whether or not I looked good. Any number of things, but it wasn't just simply because I was worthy of love, period. And in the course of my growth, what I began to understand is that all my life, my prayers truly were being answered. That the universe was responding to me, always. But I resisted. Because you see, I wanted to stay tucked into that I tucked into a familiar way of seeing things. Tucked into a belief system that I had grown comfortable with. And so anything that came out that challenged it, I pushed it away, I resisted, until that point came. And then after that, it began to become easier and easier and easier. And then I started going into prac class. I came here, which was a wonderful step for me, went to prac class, and God loved the minister at that time. I argued with her the whole time. And I did. I did, didn't I? Yeah. Well, I'm not going to believe what you have to say because you have to say it. I mean, I did. I said, if it's going to be real, babe, it's coming from me. It's not going to be coming from some person telling me what I got to think and feel and what I'm thinking is wrong. And every time she'd come up and say, and it's really a wonder I passed prep class. But what was important is it was real to me. I was being real to me, being honest to me. And then having the courage to step through this process. Because in prac class, you look at a lot of stuff in prac class. You look at a lot of things. And what the gift was in that, again, was an opening and an opportunity to see life differently, yet again. Giving me new ideas, new information, new ways to understand. Which eventually led me through a step-by-step process where I ended up here, serving as the operations director, because I was going to go to ministerial school. Yeah! Wasn't sure if I really wanted to go, but I thought, let's give it a shot anyway. The longer I stayed in it, the more resistant I became. And I met with my prayer partners. I spoke to all kinds of people, and I vacillated so many times, flipped back and forth, well, maybe I will. As soon as I said, I'm going to leave, I felt better. And I said, well, maybe I can handle this. So I'd step back and say, okay, I'm going to do ministerial school, only to freak out again. And I mean, it probably would have been easier to pick a petal off a flower saying, ministerial school? No ministerial school. Ministerial school? But I finally, when my body began to energetically shut down, it was like doors were closing during the meditation process. I thought, okay, I hear you. I hear whatever this is. For whatever reason right now, ministerial school is not for me. And so I let go of it, unsure. And then the next thing I know, Reverend Cece comes home in February with this program called Prosperity Plus by Mary Morrissey. And I like Mary Morrissey. I liked her work when I read her book in 1995. And I thought, well, I want to explore this more. And so I did. And so that information that I gained really allowed me again to grow more. I didn't so much as manifested externally as much as it was an internal shift, another step, another growth, facing the things I was afraid of, facing the things that were different than what I knew and I understood, taking the risk. And then the next thing I knew, I liked it so much, I thought, I wonder what she's doing now. And a couple of us had gone to see her in Cincinnati, and we were excited because I thought, wow, I'd really like to study with her, but it was $18,000. And I told her, I said, I just couldn't imagine coming home with my husband, we have 2 kids in college, saying, hey, how about $18,000 to go to a class? And so I remember telling her, gee, I'd love to. And she looked at me and she said, it's not about the money, Becky. It's not. And I kept thinking to herself, oh, yeah, it is. But she was right, because it really wasn't about the money. But in the process of my growth, I decided I was going to I got on, I looked around, I saw that there was a program that was within an affordable range that I could move into life coaching. And so I was excited. Yeah, I'm going to do this, work here, do some life coaching, that's great. And then I decided to expand even more. And in the process, made a very substantial investment in my business career, while at the same time not realizing that subconsciously what I'm doing is setting myself up to leave my job. I had no idea. I was talking with the Reverend CC, I'm like, yeah, this is great. I'm going to work for, into the summer, and we're going to bring a part-time person in, and she'll support me, and then eventually I'll phase out as things go really well, and she'll step right in, it'll be awesome. Well, wouldn't you know it, before I knew it, it's March, we've got 2 people hired, and I'm going to be leaving at the end of March. I had no idea how I got there. Absolutely no idea. I walk into Cece's office, and I'm like, yeah. And she said, yeah, what happened? And I'm like, I really don't know. All I know is that we're having somebody full-time come in, and she's awesome, by the way. If you haven't met her, Clara Jackson's our new office. Yes, she's wonderful. But in the meantime, I stepped out. Now here we have this investment. We have kids in college, right? And I'm stepping out on my own. And then what comes up? Because this is big. All the things that I'm resistant about come up. What makes you think you can do this? Who do you think you are? What work do you have? What initials do you have after your name that say you can do this? That you can charge whatever you think you want to charge? I mean, it was amazing. I'm like, where did this come from? And fear, again, so slapped myself, headphones on, called practitioners, talked to friends, anything I could do to keep myself remembering my truth, remembering the truth, that there is more than what I am afraid of, that my fear just represents an idea, a belief. I can choose to let it be my enemy, but I push it away, or I can choose to allow it to enter in and say, what is it that you have to share with me? I can be in charge. Just because fear becomes a part of my relationship doesn't mean that it becomes in charge. I can have charge of that, but I can learn to say, what is the gift that this gives me? What do I need to hear here, if anything? And then when I do it, then that's when I move into my prayer. That's when I move into the work that I do. That's when I stop and say, what is the truth? What is the truth? And when I'm anchored, awesome. If I'm not, it's headphones. If I'm not, I call a friend. I call a practitioner. I'm freaking. Help me. And they do. Because sometimes I can't see it. I don't know. Can you guys see it all the time? Yeah. So, when we're looking at stepping outside of our own box, and Cece's got a really nice talk she's going to give next week about resistance. But when we're in that space, probably the biggest thing for me is to remember that love is always present. And that there's a reason that we're being called to step out of the box that we're in. And that if we choose to step out of the box today or tomorrow, it doesn't matter. Because that love will always be present. The only difference that makes is that what we get to experience. We get to decide what our experience is. We don't get to decide whether love is present. Because love is. Period. It's who we are. But when we buy into our fear, we forget that. So remember, with me, that there's something greater about who we are. There's something greater that causes our heart to beat and our breath to breathe. And we are is showing itself to us every moment of every day. So that when we are at choice and fear arises because we've chosen to take a step in a direction that is bringing up a lot of fear, that we are at choice whether we want it to be a friend or a foe. And then we're at choice on whether we want to call somebody for help. Because the easiest thing to do when we're afraid is to isolate. Life is not about aloneness. Life is connection. Life is oneness. And we've got a powerful community here. And when I say powerful, I mean it's people who are present, available, and willing. People who practice these teachings. So let's honor and recognize that truth about who we are and know that that is what supports us. And know that that is what inspires us, nurtures us. And that we in turn provide that gift as well. And so for all the hearts, all the minds, all the souls that have dreams and visions, who want so much and yet feel so afraid, we know that that fear is but a belief based upon an idea whose time may be come for it to shift and be changed. And so we give ourselves permission to bring that forth, knowing that in this space and place, love is present. And love is expressing itself in the hearts and in the minds of all here, so that we uplift one another as we allow ourselves to be uplifted. Because what it is that we rest in, who it is that we are, what it is that is the reason that life itself is all around us. It is the very breath we breathe. It is our very heart. And I celebrate. And I give thanks. That life is all that it is. Whether it's the freedom to sail and soar, or the freedom to become small. Knowing that wherever it is, love is always present. And that love soothes us. That love nurtures us. And that love provides for us ideas, possibilities that enable us to step outside of what we are currently experiencing, so that we can embrace something new. That this life can be joy, joyful, joy-filled. And so I give thanks that the God of my being, the life that breathes me, is me, and so much more. How good it feels to feel good. To know that I have as my companion that which only wants my best. That which is forever waiting for me to decide and to take that step. Knowing that it doesn't go away, that its love is never dependent upon whether I understand it or not, that it is constant. And how grateful I am that possibilities abound for the Spirit within us all to take that next step in our individual journeys, to embrace who we are, to touch the heartbeat of life as our very being. How beautiful the divine is, and how beautiful it is as each of us and so I give thanks. I give thanks that this is so, that I don't have to hurt myself. I don't have to hurt anybody. I don't have to hurt. But if I do, that's all right. That I can walk the way I need to walk and know that in the process, love is present. And that I am loved. And so it's with gratitude for the freedom to be, to know, and to express the love that we are. I give thanks. I let this go. And I let it be revealed in whatever way it is to be revealed. And together we say, and so it is.
Thank you, Becky, for stepping out of your comfort zone so tremendously. Now we have an opportunity to practice the law of circulation and at the same time express our gratitude for the spiritual community by supporting it. We are able to be here to do what we do solely because of your gifts and contributions, and we thank you. So I invite you all to take a moment to become conscious of your giving. Take your gift in your hands and heart and repeat after me. Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance.
Gratefully I give with an attitude of abundance.
I know that as I give,
I know that as I give,
so do I receive abundantly.
so do I receive abundantly.
And so it is.
And so it is.